Hi everybody, it's Rick Uzzi. It's Tech Tuesday, 3 o'clock. Today I'm going to be talking about some news stories about streaming, specifically some stories about some of the big streaming providers and some other things that might be of interest to you if you're a broadband service provider. I will be right back. Thanks for joining me for Tech Tuesday. Again, today I'm going to be talking about streaming. I've done some broadcasts recently about broadband, what's been going on in the news. Last week, I covered some streaming statistics that were brought out in a report by TiVo. So today I'm just going to cover some recent articles that I've seen that I thought were pretty interesting. This one's a pretty big deal. So this judge dealt a blow to Locast in a suit brought by broadcasters. So Locast is was this service where you could get your local channels if you were in one of like 20 or so, I think, major markets. Like here in Atlanta, they have it, for example. And this could come in handy if you lose access to your local channels. Maybe you cut the cord from your pay TV provider. You're getting everything over the top, and you want your local channels. You could get that through them. Or if you lost access due to some kind of carriage dispute, I know a lot of people were doing that here in Atlanta when we lost access to Jeopardy there a little bit, not too far ago. I think it was like maybe it was early this year. So a federal judge in New York has denied a request by streaming service Locast for summary judgment in a copyright infringement lawsuit brought by the parent companies of the 4 major broadcast television networks, so ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox. Locast is a registered not-for-profit corporation that captures over-the-air broadcast signals in nearly 36 markets, so almost 36 markets, then retransmits those signals over the internet to users who live within a specific geographic area. So this is very similar to what Arrow was doing a while back, and Arrow is no longer in business. They had antennas in those markets, and they'd pick up the signal, and then they would rebroadcast that. The service has stoked the ire of major broadcast networks and local station owners who complain that Locast does not financially compensate them for the programming that is streamed to users. For its part, Locast says its operation complies with the U.S. Copyright Act, which allows some not-for-profit companies to retransmit broadcast television signals to users without first reaching retransmission agreements with station owners and networks. So that was kind of their play in that, hey, we're a nonprofit, and according to the Copyright Act and laws, since we're a nonprofit, then we don't need to go out and get these retransmission rights. Locast does not charge its users in areas of the country where its service is offered, but it does interrupt a user's video stream 4 times an hour until a customer agrees to make a donation. And I remember people talking about that, again, when people were talking about that here in Atlanta because one of the stations, the local NBC affiliate, was off the air, and people couldn't get the shows on that station like Jeopardy or others that were only available there. People were saying, oh, you can go to Locast and do that, and other people were saying, oh yeah, but that's awful because 4 times an hour or whatever they interrupt the stream, and it's not always real smooth. So it was free, but they would interrupt and then kind of try to bludgeon you into getting a paid subscription. A federal judge in New York overseeing a copyright infringement lawsuit brought by those 3 networks used Locast solicitation for donations as a reason to deny the streaming service's request for summary judgment, noting that the amount of money Locast brought in last year, more than $4.3 million, was nearly double the $2.4 million Locast assumed in operational expenses. So it's a not-for-profit making lots of money. Of course, nonprofits make money, but I think the not-for-profit was really the angle for being able to do this. So I'm sure that the people in charge are making money. The payments defendants solicit from users are charges assessed on users to avoid constant service interruption. It's not really a recurring gift to a charitable cause. So he's saying that it's not like when you have a charity that you're giving money to. This is you're again trying to bludgeon these people into basically buying a subscription. While certain exemptions found in the Copyright Act law allow Locast to use donations to maintain and operate the service, the judge said there exists no provision in the law that allows Locast to use those funds to grow the company, and that's why that's what they say they were doing with that excess revenue was, hey, now that'll help pay for us to open up in new markets. And the judge said that that's not a valid reason to skirt these copyright laws. Now, obviously, as a nonprofit, you can take money in and help that, take those funds to help you expand the business. But they're saying in this particular case, as far as the copyright laws, that doesn't seem right. So, and as of April, Locast said it served more than 2.5 million streaming customers. So this was on August 31st. Now here's a story, Next TV from just 5 days ago, but this was just basically a day or two after. Decision to stop service. Locast suspends operations. Decision to stop service with nearly 3 million signups comes after a devastating court ruling in favor of broadcasters. So they decided just a few days later to stop that. They said they suspended their operations effective immediately in the wake of that court ruling. The decision to suspend its live stream service altogether comes after an earlier announcement Wednesday that Locast would no longer interrupt the streams of users to solicit donations. So they said, okay, well, if that's the offending thing that we're doing, then we're not going to interrupt the stream. But I think somebody probably said, well, if we don't do that, we're not going to sell any, we're not going to make enough revenue to make this work, maybe. So they've abandoned that. It says Locast had embarked on a technology model similar to Aero, or maybe it was Aereo. Again, that was the one that had the little antennas that you could get local service as well. That was a startup that was shot down a decade ago by the Supreme Court in a similar battle against the same broadcasters. Locast was confident that because it was operating as a nonprofit, seeking a minimum donation of $5 a month from its users, it was protected under the Copyright Act. They said, we offer our service for free, but ask for a voluntary contribution. Aero charged a fee. And the other thing he said was different was that he says, I haven't made a dime from this project and rely overwhelmingly on small individual donors versus Aereo that was funded by lots of money. And I'm sure he was making money. I'm sure he paid himself a salary and all of that. But anyway, so looks like Locast is gone. Story about OTT here. 58% of Americans subscribe to more than one of the big 3 streaming services, says Lightman. Lightman Research. 58% of Americans subscribe to more than one of the big 3 of Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Hulu. Now, when I see a statement like that, I always wonder, Amazon Prime, how many people are they counting that have Amazon Prime simply for shipping their packages? So you know, they look at Amazon Prime and say, well, let's see, I can pay whatever it is, I forget, is it $15, $10 a month, something like that. $99 a year is what it used to be. You get paid annually. So if I do that, then I get, anytime I get a, this idea that I want to order something from Amazon, I don't need to worry about shipping. I know that's free. And oh, they have these movies and they have other things that you can get as part of that, so they kind of bundle stuff together. I don't know how many people that have Amazon Prime actually do watch the movies or how much they watch them. It is a nice feature, but that is probably not counting people that watch video. It's probably counting Prime. I'm assuming it's counting Prime customers. In 2016, LRG found only 28% had that the figure was 28% instead of 58%, and then by 2019 it hit 51%. So it's grown quite a bit over the years. Bruce Lightman, president and principal, added that the study found relatively little churn among those top 3. Netflix did best, with some 4% of households saying they'd subscribed in the past year, but no longer did. Figures for Amazon Prime and Hulu were 5% and 6% respectively. And Amazon sees a lot of churn because people will sign up for free trials, or they'll sign up and then they'll get to the end of the term and be like, am I really using this? So that's one reason I think there's a little higher. There's a note here that these are comparable to the percent of households that had a pay TV service in the past year and currently do not, at about 4%. So it sounds like they're saying it's similar to cord cutting. When asked about 11 other streaming services, and you see those listed here, quite a few of them, 53% of households said they had 3 or more, and 27% reported having 5 or more. And that's about what we hear, I think, on average when you talk about these paid services, that people are kind of in the 4 to 5 range on what they're willing to support right now. Churn has always been a challenge for lower price services, and this study found that it continues to be an issue, with the likelihood to stop subscribing to individual services in the next 6 months ranging from 9% to 19%. I don't know why inexpensive, other than maybe their content is not as good, which would be a key factor on why you would not subscribe. If you're only paying $4 or $5 a month and the content isn't that great, and then you see other services out there you want to subscribe to, you could very well drop that, because content is king. That's what it's all about. Here's a panel that met on Over the Top to discuss growth and challenges of the OTT market. While the OTT market is growing exponentially, OTT players are facing several pain points, including the need to improve content discovery, better manage data, and to compete in an ever more crowded marketplace. So more and more of these streamers are getting into business. Some of this was covered in the broadcast I did last week on those video trends from TiVo. They were talking about the fact that discovery is a real pain point for subscribers. So when you're trying to figure out what you're going to watch, it's not like the old days where you turn on the TV and you had 3 channels, or the not so old days where you turn on the TV and you had a guide to look through, and it's like, well, I'm going to see what I'm going to watch real quick. It's a little bit harder now because there are so many different choices, and then sometimes those choices don't have really good ways to discover what's on. One of the things that they determined was that people like to have recommendations. So when you get that email from Netflix that says, "Hey, Rick, we thought you'd like this new movie," then you check that out and you might put that on your favorites list. And the problem of discovery is only getting more complicated, especially in the ad-supported space, where the number of players is exploding. Noted Colin Petrie-Norris, CEO of Xumo. Xumo is a FAST service, we'll talk about here in a minute, that free ad-supported television that I believe Xumo was picked up by Comcast. So you're seeing more of these broadcasters now starting to own these FAST or ad-supported television channels. Today across the ecosystem, there are maybe 1,500 linear free ad-supported TV, FAST channels across all the platforms, you said. That's going to be 10,000 in 3 years' time. We'll have to see if it goes that big, but that's quite a jump. Linear TV or cable TV used to be one of those places you had to have a lot of money to get access to. It's now being democratized. To get a linear national, even global TV channel is now possible for a much more humble budget. So that's true as far as these streaming services, these virtual multi-channel video distributors are popping up. It's a little bit easier, obviously, than having all of the infrastructure that you need for a pay TV service through cable. It's the same if you're going to offer IPTV. You have much less head-end equipment. You can stream stuff. You don't necessarily need a set-top box, similar to the IPTV product that we offer. So it's a little bit easier to get into the space, which that barrier of entry being lower, you're going to have more competitors. The biggest challenge is that the fast space is a gladiator pit where only the strong will survive. So again, he's saying that lots of competitors and only the strong ones are going to come out on top. A few other quotes. We see much more advertising demand than we have supply, which in my 30 years in working in the ad-supported media I've never seen before. I think advertisers today, frankly, they just love this space. It's all digital, and you can track results. It's almost magic. So that's true. When you're on the regular broadcast channels, even on cable TV, regular pay TV, you put that ad out there, kind of throw it against the wall, and you don't know who's watching it. You maybe can get some details about some of the ratings. But as far as this, generally, when when you're seeing a digital ad, you know that that's been delivered to somebody, you know that they're watching it, or at least it's playing. So there is it's a little bit better for the advertisers. So here's another story about churn. This other one said churn was not that bad. This one puts it in a little bit different perspective, which is monetary, money. Churn costing top streamers combined $80.2 million in April. Well, this is from Rural Analytics. HBO Max, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus churn rates between 2% and 7%. So it's kind of in that same range that the other story was talking about. I was saying like 4%, so that's kind of close to the middle of that. Churn costs the top subscription streaming services. Again, HBO Max, Netflix, Hulu, and Disney Plus a combined $80.2 million in April. So you put it in those terms, you think 2%, 4%, 7%, not that much. When you put the dollars behind it, it's quite a bit. HBO Max lost $33.1 million, Netflix lost $17.3 million, Hulu $15.1 million, and Disney Plus $14.7 million. And this goes kind of back to what I was saying about content being king, because a lot of times the churn is related to content. People want to watch a program that's on, maybe it's a series, they'll binge watch that series, and then it's like, okay, well, I'm done with that, nothing much of interest here, or there's something I'm on Netflix, and there's that series or two that I wanted to watch on Disney Plus, so I'm going to cancel Netflix, go to Disney Plus. So I think there's probably a lot of churn back and forth between some of these streaming services, and that's why content's so important, because they got to keep this content coming to keep their subscribers connected. Netflix was lowest at 2%, and Netflix is the content king. They're always getting content out there. I believe they've got Seinfeld. They're going to be streaming all of the seasons of Seinfeld coming up here. Plus, they got all of their original series and everything else that they put out. Newer services, Discovery Plus and Viacom CBS and Paramount Plus were on the high end with 7%. So people maybe tried it out and realized they were not that interested. Churn is bad news for streaming services for at least two reasons. First, they have to spend extra marketing dollars in order to attract new customers to replace those signing off. And frankly, that's true for any business that has churning. Even if you're a paid TV provider, when people leave you, you've got to then replace those customers. So you've got to spend additional marketing dollars. Also, churn makes it harder for streaming services to reach the subscriber goals they've promised to Wall Street. So that's one big thing that these folks are doing as they get their services going, as they're promising Wall Street, we're going to have so many eyeballs on us by such and such a time. And as they lose those subscribers through churn, they've got to double the efforts to get more people on. Again, that's driving content. So they're having to spend more on content. So it's a circle. Churn is not a new problem in the video business, of course, but with the advent of streaming services, subscriber churn has escalated and accelerated due to the fact that it's much easier to cancel a streaming subscription than it is to cancel a conventional cable subscription. I've been saying that. So that's really the key, is that when you have a monthly commitment, you sign up for the month, you pay your $10 or $15 or whatever it costs, then you might watch that for several months, and it's like, well, I can switch to something else right now. You might go back to it later because it's easy. So it's easy to sign up. It's easy to drop it. It's not like cable TV where you might have a term commitment that you got to wait out, and then you've got equipment you may have to send back. You may have to have somebody come out, pick that up, or ship that off. It's much easier to switch back and forth. So there's good about that, and there's bad. The good is that you can easily get customers. The bad is that you can easily lose customers. Again, that's what's driving this content that people are having to put up, because that's what keeps the subscribers coming. The U.S. FAST market to reach $4.1 billion in 2023. Again, FAST is free ad-supported television, and that is really where a lot of the growth has been. Some of that is due to the fact that people have the 4 to 5 paid subscription services that they're signing up for. So they're getting subscription fatigue. They're looking at their bill and they're saying, well, let's see, now 4 to 5, I'm up to like $40 a month, $50 a month. This is not cheap anymore. So they round out their content by finding free ad-supported television, kind of like the old days where you could watch, you have your antenna and pick up lots of channels and watch what you wanted. It wasn't necessarily on when you wanted it. It wasn't necessarily all of the content you wanted, but you had a nice offering there of free content that you could watch for those times when there was nothing else that you wanted to watch. The free ad-supported streaming sector will also attract 216 million monthly active users in 2023, according to this research from In-Screen Media. Expanding audiences, attracting better content offerings, which attract more advertisers and more viewers. It's kind of the cycle we're talking about here. So their audiences expand, which attracts better content. So as they get more people signing up, then they can afford to pay for more content, which is going to attract more advertisers, which is going to give them more money. They're going to be able to get more viewers, and that's a nice, not a vicious circle, they call it a virtuous circle here. The report also noted that ads occupy between 13 and 14 minutes per hour, and that ad breaks occur every 6 to 9 minutes with 3 to 6 ads per break. So that's about what I think you'd see on normal ad-supported television that you get over the air. It's usually, if it's a hour show, you usually got about 45 minutes actually of show and about 15 minutes of ads. And as you can see, this is not like YouTube or those kinds of ad-supported video on demand, for example, where you're watching a video and then an ad comes in the middle and it's maybe 30 seconds, or maybe it plays for 6 seconds and it lets you skip the ad. I mean, this is like your traditional kind of broadcast TV advertising. Typically, fast viewers report spending as much as 20 minutes per day with the services, which that might be an issue because that's not very long. If you think about the time that people might spend on Netflix or Disney Plus, I mean, just watching one ad-free television show could be 30 minutes to an hour. If you're binge watching, I mean, people literally will watch 3 or 4 hours of those shows at a time, so that didn't seem like very much to me. And again, back to content. One of the reasons that people are maintaining their pay TV service is because of sports and then local TV. I was talking about Locast earlier. So sports is another reason that people are maintaining their pay TV. And here we see that sports on Tubi is launching with 10 live streaming channels. Tubi is a FAST. It's a free ad-supported television channel that they're owned by Fox. So as these broadcasting companies, or somebody like Fox, or I mentioned Zumo and then who is it? Pluto TV, I think, is owned by CBS. So as you have these free ad-supported TV channels, TV services coming out, and they're supported by these broadcasters, then you're going to have this marriage of content with these fast services. So Sports on Tubi will start with 10 live streaming channels. So that's 10 live streaming channels on Tubi, covering sports leagues, including the National Football League, Major League Baseball, NASCAR. Those are 3 big ones. The Big Ten Conference, wow. PBA bowling, not as many people watching that, but CONCACAF soccer, I'm sure it's a long acronym. And the Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show, so a couple of specialty things there for people, bowlers and whatnot. Applebee's and Uber Eats have signed up as the inaugural sponsors of Sports on Tubi. Sports on Tubi will have Fox Sports and Fox Sports en Espanol channels. So again, that's because Fox owns it. They are going to be able to provide lots of this content. Looks like maybe, at least in the beginning, I noticed like MLB, it doesn't sound like it's live baseball right away, at least. It says MLB on Tubi will feature the MLB Fastcast Daily Show. That could be live, as well as classic baseball games, highlights, historic World Series games, all-star games, and milestone events from the national pastime. So it doesn't sound like there'll be like daily games that they'll be telecasting. It sounds more like maybe they'll do some special games, well, some historic games, you know, like maybe the World Series from 1996 or something like that. Maybe the All-Star game they'll do live, milestone events, that kind of thing. Also maybe the ACC, so we'll have to see. But again, sports breaking into this is kind of a big deal because, again, that's a reason that people have been maintaining their traditional pay TV. And then another story about Tubi here. Tubi and BBC ink a deal for 400 hours of AVOD content. And this is really the fast content with Tubi. Tubi, September 2nd, announced a deal with BBC Studios that brings more than 400 hours of programming to Fox Entertainment's ad-supported video service. So you can see a list of programs here. I didn't highlight them all, but so this is another example of this ad-supported television going out and finding content so that they could maintain eyeballs and get people watching, because again, as they get more people watching, they get more ad revenue. To get more ad revenue, they can get more content, get more viewers, and that kind of thing. So it's definitely a different method for than, let's say, your traditional subscription OTT, which they call SVOD, subscription video on demand, versus FAST, what some people are kind of conflating with ad-supported video on demand. Ad-supported video on demand tends to be, the way I see that would be, I think it's Peacock. You might have a over-the-top service that has, Discovery Plus is one I know, for example, that has no ads, where you pay maybe $15 a month, and then an ad-supported where you pay $5 a month. So you get the same content in both cases, but if you're willing to watch some ads, then you can pay less per month. That's really more of an ad-supported video on demand versus free ad-supported television or FAST. So that's it for today. I hope this was interesting for you. If so, please give me a thumbs up on the video. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and click subscribe and click the little bell and be notified whenever I'm live. I'm live once a week, every Tuesday at 3 o'clock. So I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.